If you want to start writing online, what's stopping you? Well, for most people, it's because of the really dumb and self-destructive ideas that are inside their heads, and ideas that you might have as well. But don't worry, because I'm going to fix all of that in this video. The truth is, there are a lot of myths when it comes to writing online. And I'm not talking about myths like Zeus or Poseidon. Unlike those ancient Greek myths, these ones aren't real. If you know, you know. But in all seriousness, people do have a lot of myths that they believe in that are really destroying their ability to actually do the things they want to do, and I don't like that, so we're gonna dispel those myths today. For example, if you want to be a good writer, you have to be completely unique. Is this true? I mean, actually take a look at all the writers in the world. Your favorite writers, are they completely unique? Nothing else compares to the thing they've created? Really? Is that really the case? Are they all completely original? Mark Manson, Dan Coe, Tim Ferriss, Ali Abdaal, Nicholas Cole, the list goes on and on. All of these people write about very similar things, which means they're not completely original. Another myth that really annoys me is that you need to have qualifications or expertise before you start writing online. This is bollocks. I'm sorry, but it's bollocks. The truth is, all you need to do to start writing online is make an account on a website like Medium or Twitter and just start writing. You don't need any expertise. But the biggest myth of all, and the myth that I'm going to absolutely annihilate in this video, is all about ideas. Now, with that said, although there are a lot of myths about writing online, I'm not here saying that you're going to become an amazing one overnight. That would be misleading, because this is something that takes time, it takes effort, it takes dedication. But with that said, you should not wait to become a writer. All you have to do is write. As far as I'm concerned, if you write and post one thing, you are, by proxy, a writer. It doesn't matter if you don't have millions of followers like Dan Coe. It doesn't matter if you don't have 27,000 followers like me. If you write and share what you've written, you are a writer. Don't listen to the doubters and ignore all the naysayers. They don't know what they're talking about. To be honest, I wish I'd seen a video like this when I first started. It would have saved me so much time and frustration when things were not going my way. I really, sincerely hope it helps you on your journey. And with that out the way, let's get into the first myth that needs to be destroyed from the face of this earth. And that's this. You need to have good ideas to write about when you first start writing. Now, if you're like most people, you might think I'm an idiot for saying this, but just hear me out, okay? Do me a favor again and just look at your favorite writers. Do you think they were all coming out with bangers on day one? I hate to burst your bubble, but they weren't. Their first posts, terrible. I bet you $1 billion that the first post Tim Ferriss, Mark Manson, all these fellas were coming out with was rubbish. Let me prove it to you. Do you know how long it took Tolkien to write Lord of the Rings? 17 years. 17 years, which means that after year one, his story was rubbish. Do you know how many drafts it took them to write Back to the Future? 40. 40 drafts. And that's a film that Quentin Tarantino called perfect. And yet, it took them 40 attempts to reach the final product that we all saw and loved. The reality is, when you first start writing, you do not need a great idea. You just need any idea. Whether it's good or bad is irrelevant, because once you start writing, you're going to be doing it for the rest of your life. Really, if you're serious about this, you will be doing it for the rest of your life. So it doesn't matter if you start off with a good idea. You could start off with the worst idea ever and still end up having very good ideas over the course of your journey as a writer. Starting with a good idea is neither here nor there. Because when you first start writing online, people aren't going to see your stuff, most likely. I mean, yeah, sure, there are anomalies, but my first month writing on Medium, I got 65 views for the whole month. It took me ages just to reach 27,000 views in a month, which isn't even that much, but it was for me relative to where I started. The key with writing online, especially when you're a beginner, is just to get started. It's not to get good. You know, you're not going to die if you write about a bad idea. It's not like Dark Souls where you'll just get punished instantly for making a silly mistake. Writing online is more like Civilization. I've never played that game, but I imagine it's one of those games where you start small, but eventually you grow and grow and grow. Like, that's kind of how building your content empire is. The first piece of content you put out may seem insignificant, but with each piece you post, it gradually builds on top of itself until you have this massive arsenal of work. So, metaphors aside, what should you start doing? Well, it's pretty obvious, right? You should just start writing. Stop watching or reading loads of tips on how to write and just start writing. Accept that you're probably not going to smash it the first time you post something. If you're like most writers, no one's going to read your first few posts, and that's totally okay. I just told you that in my first ever month, I only had 65 total views from Medium. And I was writing a lot. Like, when I first started, I was writing every day for a year, and the first few months, barely got any views at all. But eventually, I had months where I was getting 100,000 views or 90,000 views or whatever it might be. But I never could have reached that point if I never started. Having a good idea was completely irrelevant. So don't let your pride get in the way of your progress. Write, fail, learn, improve. Do this for a few years and I promise you will have more readers than Mick Jagger has had shags. Now, on that note, let's move on to the next one. If you're still hung up on the idea myth, just watch my video where I talk about how you can come up with loads of them. I don't have time to get into that here. But for now, let me give you a quote from James Altucher, who's an entrepreneur and podcaster. If you can't come up with 10 ideas, come up with 20. The more ideas you generate, the better you get at generating ideas. In other words, don't worry if you're not coming up with any good ideas to write about. Because the truth is, ideas are relative. There is no such thing as a good idea. But in the meantime, just focus on coming up with as many ideas as possible. And if you spent time writing about every single idea you had, you'll eventually write something really good. You'll stumble across a good idea because you're just having so many of them, and your writing will get better as a result. Now, let's move on to one of the most hideous myths that exists in this digital writing space. This myth is so toxic and so wrong, it's single-handedly responsible for millions of writers giving up on their dreams and going back to their shitty jobs. But before that, we need to talk about the next myth on this list. Time spent on an idea that fails is time wasted. To debunk this myth, we need to take a look at the man who played the greatest guitar solo of all time. And no, I'm not talking about Jimi Hendrix, and I'm not talking about Eddie Van Halen. I am, of course, speaking about Prince. Nope, not that Prince, this Prince. If you don't know who Prince is, first off, get a life. As a side note, Mr. Beast doesn't actually know who Prince is. Can you believe it? Anyway. Second, he is the most prolific musician of the 20th century. He officially released 39 full-length studio albums and 97 singles all the way up until 2015. And that is a ridiculous amount of published music by modern standards. For context, Jimi Hendrix only released 3 albums during the course of his lifetime. Meanwhile, Tame Impala has released 4 over the last 10 years. But what's really crazy insane about Prince is that over 70% of the music he recorded hasn't even been released. Meaning, this guy's got a vault of all of the music he ever made, and most of it just will never see the light of day. Most people probably couldn't listen to all of it in multiple lifetimes. But the reason I bring this up is this. Do you think Prince saw his non-published works as failures? Or was he just this holistic creator where everything he made built on top of each other? You see, although Prince was a professional musician, and that is how he earned his money, his main goal wasn't to release music. He was a creator. All he cared about was creating music. He didn't give a fuck about releasing it. He would release it to make some money, but that wasn't his primary focus. The reality is, everything he made, regardless of whether it was released or not, helped him become the outstanding artist he was. This is the same with you when you're writing. Not everything you post has to be an astounding piece of content. Even if you were to write 100 articles that no one reads, you wouldn't be wasting your time. If your goal is to be a writer for the rest of your life, it doesn't matter if no one reads your first 100 things. While you were writing them, you were honing your skills. You're mastering your craft, and you're laying the foundations for your future success. Think of writing online like you're building a skyscraper. Like, obviously everyone cares about the top, right? No one gives a shit about the bottom of the Empire State Building. They all care about, like, the top. But in order to reach that iconic peak, you need to build the foundations first. Otherwise, you don't have a peak. Much like a Lego tower, each piece is connected. If you take one away, it all just comes crumbling down. So just get this notion of wasted time out of your head. Like, if you wrote something, if you spent like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours writing something that no one reads, it's not a waste of time. It's actually very valuable time spent if your goal is to be a writer. If you have other priorities, if you don't want to be a writer and you just want the results that come from being a writer, then yeah, it will feel like a waste of time for you. But if you are serious about wanting to be a writer, it won't matter to you if you write a bunch of stuff that no one reads. It's all part of the process. If you are serious about being a writer, click the second link in the description. I've got an amazing offer for you. But let's get back on track. The fact is, it doesn't matter how many times you write things that, quote, fail. That's nonsense. There is no failing. There's only learning. There's only improving. There's only honing. Every single thing you write is part of your process, your purpose, and your progress. If you want to be a screenwriter and you write 10 scripts that suck and then eventually write one that was absolutely amazing and gets picked up, all of those 10 scripts that you wrote were not a waste of time. They all helped you create your masterpiece. Because what did James Altucher say? He said the more ideas you have, the better ideas you have. It's exactly the same with this. How do you expect to become an amazing writer online or writing anything without writing a lot? In short, don't be a peasant and create nothing. Be like Prince and become a creator. For you to really get this into your head, you need to change the way you view failure. If you want to be a writer and you write things that, quote, fail, are you really failing? Like, I've already explained, like, you're not. Why aren't you failing? Because you're writing. If your goal is to be a writer and you write something, you are by definition succeeding because you're doing what you want to be doing. Does that make sense? Even if your writing is bad, you're still winning because you're writing. You want to be a writer. Writers write. Writers don't fail if they write. Get this through your head, okay? There is no failing when you write. I hope you understand that now. Saying you fail when you write, when you want to be a writer, is like saying you're failing when you fall off a bike when you're trying to learn how to ride it. I remember the first time I tried riding a bike and it was an absolute train wreck. I fell over so many times I got traumatized. Like, I didn't want to do it. I was one of those kids who had the training wheels on for like way longer than was necessary. Or not even necessary, like way longer than recommended. Because I was just so afraid of falling over. But then eventually I did learn how to ride a bike after failing miserably loads of times. And now riding a bike is like one of my favorite things to do. I don't get to do it much because of where I live. But whenever I am back somewhere where I can, I love it so much. If I had allowed that initial failure to stop me from trying to learn how to ride a bike, I would have robbed myself of so much future joy and happiness. And it's the exact same thing with writing. Just because you didn't get a result you wanted when you posted your work doesn't mean you're failing. Like, this is stupid. You need to change your perspective on this. You're a writer. Whenever you write, you win. It doesn't matter if it doesn't get read. You're still winning. Now, this next myth is deep inside most aspiring writers' minds. And it's been put there by society, rotting them from the inside out. And on closer observation, I think it's probably the number one reason why people don't start writing online. What am I talking about? That you need to be an expert to start writing online. I'm going to level with you. This is something I thought for a very long time. You may not know this based on how I present to the camera right now, but I used to be an incredibly insecure individual, especially in my late teens, early 20s. It's weird because like I spent so many years of my life watching people on YouTube do really cool shit, but it never twigged that that's possible for me as well. Do you know what I mean? Because fundamentally, I just thought they were special. Like, I thought they had something I didn't, and I couldn't do what they did because I wasn't special. Well, obviously, like, in hindsight, this was totally bollocks because everyone starts from the same position. No one starts out as an expert. Everyone starts from zero to a certain extent. Therefore, waiting to become an expert just so you can start posting things online is really stupid. You see, a lot of people think they need permission to do the things they want to do. And this isn't really their fault. Think about it, like we all grew up with some kind of authority figures, whether it was our parents, our teachers, or the various adults in our lives. We were all conditioned from a very young age to seek permission to do things from our authority figures. The problem is, when you get older, you realize this was all bullshit. There wasn't actually any authority. The people you assigned authority to was a decision you made. There is no such thing as being given permission. It was always an illusion because you are the ultimate authority on everything in your life. But I'm not going to get into that in this video because that's way too deep. But in short, you are the one who makes all of the decisions in your life. When you ask your teacher if you can go to the toilet and they say no, and you obey them saying no, you're still going along with that. The teacher doesn't have any power over you. You're just choosing to submit to that authority figure. And this becomes a big problem when you become an adult and you realize that there is no permission. The only person who can give you permission is you. And personally, this was the biggest thing holding me back for the longest time, because I just wouldn't give myself permission to do the things I wanted to do. It was only after years of suffering and just deconditioning that I realized I was the one holding myself back. Not my teachers, not my parents, not society, me. So, what does this have to do with you writing online? Well, it's very simple. You're not writing because you're not giving yourself permission to write. Now, I don't know why this is the case. I can't dive through the camera and become you and know your traumas and your issues or whatever. But that is fundamentally the reason. Maybe you were told you didn't have any talent when you were a kid. Maybe your parents didn't believe in you. Maybe your teachers were just discouraging. Whatever your objection is that's subconsciously manifesting right now, just know that it's all bollocks. You don't need anyone else's permission to start writing online. Do you think Logan Paul asked for permission to start putting videos on YouTube? Or did he just do it? Because I promise you, Logan Paul did not have any credibility when he first started. He didn't have any expertise. He didn't know anything. He was just a kid, right? He was just a kid. But he did it anyway. And he reaped the rewards later on down the line. And I'm just using him as a random example. Like, this is the same for all creators of any kind. It doesn't matter if David Bowie wasn't the greatest, like, most skilled musician in the world. He gave himself permission to be an artist, and he made amazing stuff. The same with the Beatles. The Beatles, back in the day, got excited when they realized how to play a B7 chord. Those kids that got excited about learning how to play a B7 chord ended up making some of the greatest music of all time. They didn't seek permission from anyone else. They gave themselves permission. And let me just be super frank with you right now. If you keep waiting for someone to give you permission to do the things you want to do, you will be waiting for the rest of your life. Because no one other than you will ever give it to you. The sooner you realize this, the better. So, if there's one thing in this video that I want to leave you with, it's this. If you've been waiting to start writing, but haven't got round to it yet, just start. Please, just start writing. We need you, alright? There aren't enough writers dominating content creation. We need you to enter the game. We're losing to all the degenerate TikTokers and Instagram people. We need you. We need your ideas. We need your insights. We need your perspectives. And as writers, we need to start winning the content creation game. But in all seriousness, start writing, and it doesn't matter if your work doesn't perform. It doesn't matter if you don't get 1 million followers the first time you post something. It doesn't matter if you don't become super rich overnight. It doesn't matter if you spend ages writing a book and it doesn't become a bestseller. None of this stuff matters because you want to be a writer and writers write. Even if the first few things you write are bad, So what? So what? At least you gave it a try. At least you did something. Either way, you'll get better. We all get better. Besides, just think about how you'll feel 10 years from now after you've spent almost every single day writing. How will you feel when you look back at those old posts? You'll look at them with love. You'll look at them and marvel at how far you've come. That's what I do. I'm not 10 years into this. I'm only about 2.5 years into this. But whenever I look back at my old posts, I'm just mesmerized. I'm like, wow. I was writing that stuff and now I'm writing this stuff. It's a crazy journey. And I want you to experience this as well. Every single thing I write and every single thing you will write, they're all connected. They're not these individual things that are separate from each other. They're all part of the same thing. So seriously, there's nothing stopping you from starting other than yourself. I hope you realize that now, and I hope this video has helped you change your perspectives. Click the first link in the description if you want to learn how to become a magnetic writer. Click the second link in the description if you're really serious about becoming a digital writer in 2025. And if you like this video, you'll love this next one where I show you how to become an idea generation machine. I'll see you there. Bye.